We'd like to welcome you to our presentation for our tech update video. If you were watching the Super Bowl, you might have noticed that giant power outage that happened and delayed the game for about 40 minutes. And today we're going to talk about how we might eliminate those power outages in the future by the use of smart grid technology. So this is a very relevant topic to current events that have been happening. To begin our discussion, or our presentation, I'd just like to introduce smart grids and explain to you a little bit about what they are. So smart grid generally refers to a class of technology people are using to bring utility electricity delivery systems into the 21st century. It uses computer-based remote control and automation. These systems are made possible by two-way communication technology and computer processing that has been used for decades in other industries. They're beginning to be used on electricity networks from power plants and wind farms all the way to consumers of electricity in homes and businesses. They offer many benefits to both the consumers and utility companies in efficient energy delivery and also in reduced cost for both groups. Now, to explain the smart grids a little bit better, I wanted to take a look back at the history of electrical grids so we can kind of see where we've come from and how this problem has been created. So when smart grids first began, there was when energy grids first began, there was a central power source, and that source would send energy to all people connected to their grid. And as the continued to develop, metering was introduced to help monitor how much energy each individual home used, and then the electrical companies could charge for what that was used. And as demand for electricity continued to grow, power stations weren't able to supply enough energy for that demand. So beginning in the 1970s all the way to present, we'll see things like rolling blackouts and also poor quality of electricity. And this has led to an increased cost for the consumer. Now, this diagram here helps illustrate this situation. So you have a central power source, and as we zoom out, we'll see that energy will be delivered to everyone connected to that power source. Now, today, grids have become more complicated. There's now multiple power sources, so there's things like wind and solar power that have come onto the grid to make this even more complex. So today an energy grid might look something like this, where you have energy coming from multiple sources: wind farms, solar energy. You might have energy coming from a nuclear plant or from a coal plant. All of these different forms of energy going to these homes. Now, this complex grid system has helped create a problem where we're not able to efficiently match electricity power generation or supply with the demand that's needed. So we have power plants here, and power plants are just going to generate as much electricity as they feel that they need. But we have consumers now who want all different types of things from their power companies. They might want energy now, they might want it later, they might want energy companies to store it for when they need it at another time. So they have all of these things, and it makes it difficult for power companies to know exactly how much power they need to generate and how to do this and how to deliver it efficiently to the consumer. So the solution to this problem is the introduction of smart grids, and smart grids help energy be efficiently delivered to the consumer. Now, this next video here that I want to show you explains a little bit about smart grids and what they do, and it does a good job of explaining the situation.
In this country, we have huge power stations that make our electricity. The electricity goes down the wires, held up by the big pylons we see all over the country, that take it to local substations that finally delivers electricity to you and me at home, at school, and at work. The wires, substations and poles that make up the grid are there to make sure there's enough electricity to go around. So when we all want to watch our favourite soap and switch the kettle on for a cup of tea, we have to power up more of our power stations to make sure there's enough electricity for everyone. But in future, we'll have more electrical gadgets, and we might even have an electric car, and the grid simply won't be able to cope. We could build a bigger one, but that will be very expensive, costing billions of pounds. So we've been looking at how we can get more from our electricity network using something called a smart grid. Smart grids will help the power stations to talk to the substations to talk to homes and businesses, and homes to talk to all of our electrical gadgets, the electric car, fridge, TV and a washing machine. Your electricity company will use this information to understand when and how they can move electricity around so it's there when and where you need it. Magic. A smart house tells the washing machine not to turn on until 3 a.m. and tells the aircon to turn off at 11 p.m. and on again at 6 a.m. The smart house will also make electricity using its solar panels, a wind turbine, or other green technologies, selling it back to the electricity company when demand is high. The clever electricity company will take this extra energy from all of the solar panels and wind turbines and move it around to make sure everyone has the energy they need. It might also help us reduce the amount of energy we use, bringing our bills down. That is a smart grid. Well, I hope so.
So that video does an excellent job of explaining the situation for smart grids. And now we just want to focus on a couple of the things that they mentioned in some of the features of a smart grid. So the first thing is efficiency. Smart grids are great because they really help power companies operate efficiently. Now power companies will know how much energy they need to produce, where it needs to go, and at what time, and when it needs to get there. It greatly will help, and then they don't have to produce more than they need and deliver it inappropriately, which is one of the problems with energy delivery currently. Another great thing about this technology is that it's reliable. So this will help reliable energy be delivered to homes when they need it and how much they need. So you'll see things like happened at the Super Bowl where they needed more energy than normal. Well, the grid wasn't able to handle it and there was an outage. Well, in the future, you'll be able to take that, or with the use of smart grids, you'll be able to redirect that energy from places it's not being needed and send that where it needs to be. It's also flexible, and one of the great things about smart grids is that it has bidirectional energy flows. So today, grids do unilateral energy flow where they just flow from a power source to a home, but it doesn't flow back. Now the video illustrated this quite effectively where the energy will flow from a home, like you have a solar panel, and it can go all the way back to the power company, and that's called bidirectional energy flows. And lastly, it's sustainable, where it helps really take advantage of sustainable energies to efficiently deliver the energy, such as solar and wind power. Now, some of the technology that's used in this is very interesting. One of it is integrated communications, and this is how appliances talk to each other. And again, the video illustrated this very well, how you could start your washing machine at one time of the day, maybe when energy demand isn't as high and energy costs aren't as high, and then you can start your air conditioner after that's done to help save on use of energy. Right along with that is smart meters, and smart meters help monitor how much electricity you're using. So two things here is, one, you can, as a consumer, know when to use your electricity and when not to, and you can use it at lower prices. And then also power companies know exactly how much energy they need to generate to meet the demand. And then the last thing here is smart power generation. We kind of mentioned this already, but where you can create your own power and redistribute that back to the power company. So as we look here at the market, It's really performing quite well. It's been growing. It's estimated about $14 billion worldwide in 2012, and it's just expected to grow 10% each year to an estimated 25 billion in about 5 years. Now, there's a couple concerns with the adoption of this technology. There's both consumer concerns and social concerns. One of the consumer concerns is privacy. Power companies will have greater access to your usage and your power, what you use, so that is a concern. And then also complex rate system where you're not exactly sure how to bill for this when you might be selling energy back to a power company. It hasn't been figured out how to effectively manage that at this point. There's also a couple social concerns. You could have abuse from providers where providers, because they have so much information, can not use this properly. And also there'll be more government involvement in electricity delivery, and that can be concerning for some people. So there's a few challenges for this. Cost is the main one. As with most new technologies, it's extremely expensive to implement into our current grids. And part of the reason it's so expensive is because it's a very complex technology, so it's very difficult to integrate that in. And then lastly, there's some security concerns, which we've already touched on, how to effectively manage this technology or all the information. And then lastly here, we just really feel that this is a good technology that's really going to take off in the future. We really feel that this will be an integral part in the way that energy is delivered in the future because it is so efficient and it benefits both the consumer and the provider. Well, that concludes our presentation. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to it, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.